Good evening and welcome to Conversations with Michael Carson. I'm your host, Michael Carson. Thank you so much for joining us tonight on this Veterans Day. My fellow veterans, happy Veterans Day, and I hope you got all your free food today wherever you've had the opportunity to get all your free food. That's a inside thing, but if you're a veteran, there are a lot of restaurants who are offering free meals today for veterans. If you're watching the broadcast via Facebook, make sure that you comment, you like, and you share. Let people know we're on tonight. If you're watching us via YouTube, make sure you also comment, like, and hit that subscribe button and click that bell. We appreciate everyone who's subscribing to my channel and also who's tuning into the show. We so very much appreciate you, and thank you so much. Well, tonight is part 2 of our First Responder series. And tonight we want to highlight veterans. I mean, it's just, it's appropriate to do that on Veterans Day. And I have, let me get them on camera. I have 2 incredible ladies with me that's here tonight. I have none other than Dr. Councilwoman, mom, daughter, activist. She be out in them streets tearing up stuff, making things happen. We met 2019 when we both were campaigning for state house seats. And it's a pleasure to call her my friend, also a fellow veteran, U.S. Army vet, Dr. Ceretta Smith. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Good evening. It's awesome. It's always a pleasure to be here with you. Thank you so much, Michael.
Yes, and she said when I mentioned to her, I said I want to do a show about veterans, and she said, well, why don't we do a mother-son thing? I'm like, I'm gonna be a little hard. Your son is enlisted, so I don't want to say nothing that might get him in trouble. I have to put him on the spot. So she said, I have the right person for you. And then she said she was a retired master sergeant and a Black woman. I'm like, whoa, I gotta have her on the show. And she's also a minister of the gospel, Minister Beverly, Dennie. Thank you so much for being on the show tonight.
Hi. Yes.
Appreciate you. Thank you, ladies, both for your service. I'm gonna start out by saying this. I never intended to go in the military. I never intended to go in the military. I have my views about the military, and I have my views about people that go in the military. But I found myself using the military wanting to use the military as a platform to go to college. And the interesting thing, I have an Army veteran and an Air Force veteran on here. And when I went to meet with the recruiter, and I'm an Air Force veteran, and my recruiter was always late. And the Army recruiter was always there trying to you crazy. You don't want to go to the Air Force. You need to come over to the Army. But at 19 years old, I was terrified of the Army. I'm like, I don't want no parts of the Army. I don't want no parts of the Marines. And I didn't swim, so I didn't want any parts of the Navy. So all I heard was my uncle's like, go to the Air Force, go to the Air Force. So I ended up in the Air Force, and I'm glad I ended up in the Air Force. So tell us, ladies, who you are. We'll start with you, Dr. Ceretta, who you are, and how did you end up? What is your story? How did you end up in the Army?
Wow. Well, Ceretta is a fun-loving, high-energy, passionate. I give it all. I love hard, caring individual who loves life, who loves to travel, who loves to have fun, who loves people, who loves meeting people, who is perceived as being this strong woman. But at the core, I'm nothing but a big barrel of water. I'll cry at the drop of a movie that, has a commentary that's, touching to the heart. And so that's kind of who Ceretta is. She's just this easygoing, fun-loving, caring, high energetic, super extroverted person that just loves to have fun, loves people, and loves helping people. How did I end up in the military? Wow. Well, you're just gonna make me tell all my business.
This is a conversation,
so after a horrible divorce, I was at a crossroads. I got married at 18 years old. Probably should never have gotten married that young. Went through a horrible experience, and I was at a crossroads. I found myself homeless.
Wow.
Not knowing what I was going to do, working in the family business. And when your family controls your money, they can control your life. And I forgot to tell you, I'm very headstrong and independent.
Well,
So
I knew that. I knew that.
I wasn't going to be controlled. And one day I just went to the recruiters. I just found myself at the recruiters. My father was in the military. My brother was in the military. My cousins, my uncles. So it wasn't that I was unfamiliar with the military. I knew all about the military. I had an uncle in the Air Force, uncles and cousins and brothers in the Army. But I just went down there. And so, you know what? But I tell you, it was the best decision I could have ever made, because I was at a crossroads in my life. And I knew that I had to do something. I just didn't know what. And I signed on the dotted line. And my family, my mom jokes about this to this day. They made a bet. They said I'd be back home in 2 weeks.
Wow.
They said I wouldn't make it through basic training. And 'cause I'm a prissy girl too. And so they said I wouldn't make it. But you know what? I was determined that, I just knew in me that this was the change that I needed, and that this was going to help change my life and put me on a trajectory towards, I knew there was something more. I just didn't know what. So that's how I joined. That's how I got there.
Excellent. What about you, Minister Beverly?
I'm that fully persuaded, most highly motivated, too blessed to be depressed, Beverly Dennie. If that is not who I am, just remember I'm the daughter of the great I am. With my father's wisdom and his powerful vision, empowering people is the right decision. You see, he has equipped me to do this great task. All I had to do was just ask. Throughout this universe, I'll be enriching people's lives, from the blue-collar world, the white-collar world, and yes, you too, housewives. My steps are ordered, as you can see. All you need to do is just believe. So just know that I am very passionate. I love to encourage people. I am a giver, as Dr. Smith said earlier. I love people, and that's a big part of me. I just love people. I love making people feel better in every capacity that I am able to. And I ended up in the military. I went to school, got a 2-year degree, associate's degree in accounting. And at my graduation, one of my favorite aunts wasn't there. I called her and I said, "Hey, why are you not there?" And it wasn't that I didn't want her. I wanted her to be there. I wanted my gift from graduating from college. She was one of those supportive aunts, one of my mentors, someone that I looked up to. And her advice to me was, you need to go to the military. And she was very specific. You need to go to the Air Force. So while she was giving me all this advice, in my mind, I said, here we go again, Aunt Olivia. She's giving me all this advice, but she was very wise. And I heard what she said. A seed was planted. I was going back and I talked to a couple of my classmates that I graduated with, and they were like, "We're going to go to the Navy and we're going to go to the Army." I said, "Why are you going to go to the military? We have degrees." And so they sold it to me, not my aunt. She planted the seed, but they sold it to me. Hey, you can get 30 days of vacation. You're going to have your own room. They were like, you're going to live in the barracks. Air Force language was, you're going to be in the dorms. You're going to get you're going to have a meal card. You're going to get money to buy your uniform. So that 30 days of vacation really got me. And you get to travel. So that's what sold me. But I wanted to get a bachelor's in accounting. And so that's how I started my career. And like you, I was very afraid of the Army. So I tell people, I dated the Army when I was trying to come in. I let them take me to Red Lobster, all these places to the Air Force just took me to McDonald's once I came in, okay? And they took me at one time. But I let the Army, court me. And then I ended up going with the Air Force.
Excellent. Wonderful stories. Dr. Ceretta, you worked as a medic while in the Army. So was that a career choice of yours? And then how do you think that shaped you as a person, as a woman?
I think now, learning more about personality types and understanding my temperament, being the temperament that I am, the medical field was just a natural choice for me. With the temperament that I have, that was kind of like one of the career paths that was, listed out as something that I would excel in. again, that helping people, taking care of people, that side of me. And so that was the selection that I made, was to be a medic. And again, I enjoyed it. I worked mostly in the hospital or clinics. And so I was in one field unit. I didn't care for that too much. I did not like PMCSing Humvees, because that meant my nails might get messed up. First sergeant, I had a first sergeant tell me that one time. He was like, "I need you to PMCS the vehicle." I said, "First sergeant, I just got my nails done." And so, but I just, again, because that's my temperament, caring for people and helping people, it was just a natural bent for me. And it really fit who I was, and that part of me that loves taking care of and helping people. So I loved being a medic. I loved working in the hospital, and I did. I learned a lot in the field unit. They teased me. They gave me a hard time, but I made it through. And so, the Army really taught me that discipline. I learned discipline, organization, teamwork, team building. You find out very quickly in basic training that it's just not about you, because if your battle buddy does something, then everybody has to do the push-ups, or everybody has to run. So you learn very quickly that it's just not about you. You've got to think about the entire team when you're making decisions. And so that really shaped me, that discipline, that work ethic, that attention to detail, being team driven, and just always, you never leave anybody behind, and having your battle buddies back. And so those are some of the things that I've taken away, that I think, I know they've spilled over into my life even today.
What about you, Minister Beverly? I gotta get Beverly and Dennie, and I knew I was gonna do it, because I kept looking at your sheet and I kept saying in my head Benny, and it's like, no, it's Dennie, Beverly, Dennie. So Minister Dennie.
It's okay.
So your career, I couldn't tell from your bio what your career path was. So was it in accounting?
Actually, no, it was not, sir.
Oh, okay.
I only wanted to become an accountant because my father had his own business, and at that time he was having issues with his accountant. So I was like, I'm going to go to school and become an accountant for my father. But no, sir. I actually went in as I was an information manager, which was back then like an admin.
702.
Yes,
I was a 702. Yeah.
Yes, sir. It eventually changed to 3AO. Remember?
Yeah.
Like a little later on, it went from 702 to 3AO, and then they were like, they're going to get rid of the career field. And I was going to get out. I was bored. I was playing solitaire. Out of the 8 hours I was at work, I was probably playing solitaire 6 hours. So I just told my career counselor, I said, "Look, I'm just going to get out. I think I'm going to get out." She's like, "No, you need to retrain." So I thought about it, and they gave me like 4 choices, and legal. I just said legal and medical. I don't have a strong stomach, so medical was not my route. But legal, there's always going to be jobs in legal, because we're going to always have criminals. Okay, people that's going to need help based on what side of the law you're looking at, family law, or like I said, the criminal side. And so I retrained in 1996, and I've been a paralegal ever since.
And see, our stories are kind of sort of similar in that when I went in, I wanted to be a fireman. Oh. And so I got all the way up and they were like, "Okay, you need a driver's license." I'm like, "Well, I don't have a driver's license." I had joined the military in DC. I left LA. I grew up in LA, went back home to DC, joined the Air Force, and they were like, "Well, you need a driver's license." "Well, I don't have a driver's license." "Well, what's your second choice?" I'm like, "Well, I want to get into the legal field." So because I wanted to go to college for business law. So they were like, "Okay, well, 702. Okay, so you're going to be an admin." So interestingly enough, when I was assigned to George Air Force Base in California, within the first year, I was working on getting people, they were kicking people out of the Air Force. So I was working with the JAGs on kicking people out of the Air Force. Yeah. And it was a weird, yeah. And I'm here and I'm in the office and everybody come in and it's like, "Airman Carson, how you doing?" "I'm doing great." And I'm saying to myself, "Do you know why you're here?" Okay. Do you really know why you're here? You're not. And so everything will be fine until they go in. And then when they come out and then they're relinquishing their ID, they're relinquishing their rank, everything, and it's a totally different thing. So that was like eye-opening for me as a young airman in the Air Force, and it was just the interactions with people and what I learned in the Air Force by, my wife and others will tell you that, is it OCD or is it the military? Because some of the stuff it's like, no, the cans have to all be facing a certain way. Why? Just
yes.
So have you guys experienced like some of the stuff that some of the things or some of the patterns that were, as you were in the military? Do you exhibit those same things? Do your husbands, your family, do they say like, you're not in the military anymore, you've been out of the military? I mean, do they comment on those things?
I think I can remember with the kids, like I would come in and I'd be like, we having a GI party today. And I mean, I would like break out the buckets, the cleaning supplies. We having a GI party today. We're going to get my house clean today. And they would, what is a GI party? And I was like, in the military, that's when the drill sergeant came in the barracks, because the barracks was a minute. Like, Mom, we're not in the military. So I think some of those things that we learned in terms of cleanliness and, like I said, being organized, and I think even when I got out of the military and I began my life in the civilian sector, I had to remember, like you said, that I wasn't in the Army anymore and working with people that had never been in the Army. So what we were called were hybrids, because we were in the military and we worked in the civilian for the federal government. And so just working with people who maybe had never been in the military or any branch of services, and sometimes their work ethic was different, just having patience with them and understanding that, I'm not in the Army anymore. And so so I do believe some of those things that we learned did spill over in my home life, and in my work career as well.
Yes, ditto everything she said. I think my parents taught me the work ethic. When I was young, they would make us get up on Saturday mornings at 7 o'clock, and we would move bricks from one corner of the backyard to the other corner. But my father was teaching me work ethic, and I understand that. But that punctuality part, I grabbed from the military for sure. I would rather be an hour early than a minute late. And I know that came from the military, and as also as being a paralegal, because people would get in trouble for coming in, like AWOL. I'm like, just for being late. And I did not want to be that person. That's one thing that caught, like I like to be punctual.
I want to switch the topic a little bit. If you're joining us, this is Conversations with Michael Carson. I'm here with Army veteran Dr. Ceretta Smith and Master Sergeant retired Master Sergeant Minister Beverly Dennie, and we've just been chatting about our experiences as veterans. And I want to shift the topic a little bit. What are some of the challenges? I mean, we hear all the time, everyone today is thank you for your service, and I appreciate it. And we see all the celebrations, we see the president laying the wreath, we see all of these different things, yet veterans are still homeless, are still have mental health challenges, alcoholism, suicide rates, all of, so, and I know, Dr. Ceretta, you were still doing a lot. I mean, you were doing a lot with veterans once you left. So talk a little bit about some of the challenges, and then how those who may be watching or who may watch this afterwards, how they can support veterans.
So one of the unique things about my federal government career is I started out as in a correspondence where people come and get copies of their records. I kind of worked my way up, became the secretary for the Medical Evaluation Board's doctor, and eventually ended up becoming a Physical Evaluation Board liaison officer that worked in the Wounded Warrior Battalion, helping to medically board service members. So I got to see up close and personal, working with soldiers that were dealing with all types of behavioral health issues, PTSD, paranoid schizophrenic, major depressive disorders. I got to be up close and personal and work with a lot of soldiers who experienced military sexual trauma, soldiers who were assaulted and violated in war by soldiers from foreign armies, soldiers, from their own brothers and sisters. So I got to see a lot about an aside that people really don't know. Some of the things that our service members go through in war and in peacetime, even being, in country, the military sexual trauma, not just men, not just women, but men as well. And the impact that type of trauma has on people. I've had soldiers that I was close to commit suicide. So, there is this side that, I tell people, I've heard people comment sometimes, well, they don't look disabled. And it's not the disabilities that you can see. Oftentimes it's the disabilities that you can't see, the trauma that you can't see. And so don't judge a book by its cover. And it had a great impact on me as well. It made me be more sensitive, more understanding, more compassionate, more alert, in recognizing, when you're out, maybe I can remember being in a bank and a service member was in the bank and, he was getting upset because the teller was, wouldn't give him his money. And, I recognized, okay, he's got PTSD and, so I go over and I'm like, how can I help, try to de-escalate the situation, because we see oftentimes, police can be called. I've had soldiers who, have been killed, because we didn't, people didn't recognize that they were having a breakdown. They were actually in a crisis. So just being more supportive, our VA is underfunded. So a lot of people, the VA is very unfunded. There's like 49-some thousand jobs that are currently not funded, if I remember the statistics correctly. And so lots of times it's not that the VA doesn't want to provide the services. They don't have the specialty doctors or the personnel to provide the services. And oftentimes when they send veterans out into the civilian sector, they don't really understand, because a lot of your doctors and nurses and people that work in the VA, they are veterans. They have served. So they understand the struggles, they understand the language, they understand the issues. They speak a certain language. Veterans, we speak a certain language. And so, underfunding our VAs, things like that, understanding the importance of getting involved, voting, calling your congressional, your senatorial leaders, because those are the people that have the ability to impact the VA and the services that we receive, making those phone calls, expressing to them, how you feel, what you need, what you don't want. I don't want to be sent out into the civilian sector for my care. I want my care at the VA. Fund the VA. Give the VA the funds that they need so that they can staff employees. So if you want to help veterans, be involved in the legislative and political process that affects veterans directly. Homelessness, there's several communities that have done tiny homes. There's so many things that we can do. Support veteran organizations, Wounded Warriors project that build homes. There's so many organizations. If you're looking for places to donate, consider giving to some of those places.
So much information, and so much of what you said is just spot on. Minister Beverly, you were you were a master sergeant, retired master sergeant, and not too many people become master sergeant. I'm just gonna say it. Not too many Black people become master sergeant.
Yes, sir.
So talk about. Because you have to have been. How long did you serve?
20 years and 10 months.
20 years and 10 months. So talk about the challenges of making the transition of 20 years of your young, that time period and what you were doing, and then how it's like, okay, now I got to make the transition back to, not the lingo, not, some of the routine, not staring at a screen, because at that point, as a master sergeant, you more or less probably were given orders and just making sure stuff was done and not really doing it. So talk about some of the challenges that military personnel who might have served as long as you've served, making that transition.
Well, a lot of times, some people, when they're at that point in their career, they want to continue on because that's all they know. That's why you see a lot of people that do serve and they do their 30 or until they can't serve any longer, because sometimes there's an age requirement. But what I found myself was becoming a civil service employee is what helped me because I wanted to leave the militant part of, people telling me what to do in a sense, because when you're wearing a uniform, they say that you're working 24/7. But as a civilian, you get a little bit more freedom. And so I think just working as a GS employee is what helped me, move into the civilian, population. And I'm just thinking about something that Dr. Ceretta was saying. A lot of times we have to seek to understand rather than to be understood. So even though I didn't know what I was getting myself into, I knew what I was getting myself into. You understand? Right. I knew staying with DOD that I kind of knew how things went, as a civilian versus just going back out there in the civilian, population, working that way in private practice or whatever. And so a lot of times because you serve, and let me be clear about this, I did not join the military because I wanted to protect my country. Okay. I want to make sure I like when people thank me for serving. We all have our different reasons, but mine was, like I said, it was a selfish thing, something that I wanted to do for myself, to further myself. Yeah. And so it was scary, just going back out there, not knowing. And in my case, when all of this happened, I lost my husband. So I'm like, okay, where do I go? What do I do? And I really didn't even want to play anymore. I didn't want to play. I didn't want to wear the uniform anymore. I just wanted to be Beverly Dennie, without the military stuff.
So we were going to transition. I was going to transition into that the few minutes that we have left. Tell us about Sergeant Mike Dennie. And I mean, because he obviously was more than just, a casualty of war, but he was a person, and he obviously, your husband. And so talk a little bit about him, share his story with us.
Staff Sergeant Dennie had a big heart. He was from Jamaica. He came over to the United States. He became a citizen right before I married him. But he just had a big heart for people. He loved people. He would be the one in his unit to, when they're running, he's the one back there saying, come on, you can do it. He loved people, and he always saw the best in people. He was very smart. He could read something and then tell you what he read. He will remember it really well. But he loved being a soldier. Prior to him going to war, he was not going. They was leaving him behind, and he was so upset. And I can't remember what was going on, but Turkey wouldn't let us enter in, and so they ended up pulling everybody back. And then they did a new list, and he was number 1 on the list. So even though he made that ultimate sacrifice, he knew what he was doing prior to making that ultimate sacrifice. He died doing what he loved to do. He slept, ate the Army. So, and loved by many, many, many people.
How did that affect you and your, as a, you were enlisted. So how did that affect you in your thinking about what you were doing and still being enlisted and was it like, it's time for me to go, I can't do this anymore?
It knocked me off my feet. I can't say that. And at the same time, I was like, okay, God, where do I move from here? What do you want me to do now? And I feel like God just surrounded me by many, powerful people, strong people, Dr. Smith being one of them, to kind of guide me and lead me in the way that he wanted me to go. So yes, no, I didn't want to wear the uniform anymore every day. And being in a space where it was a lot of Army people in their uniform, I couldn't keep it together. Just knowing that he didn't come home, so if, back then, if I was in a large place and I would see a bunch of people, it will always come to my mind that Mike didn't come back, But I knew what the military stood for at that time, of course, being a master sergeant. And I did, no one twist my arm and, told me to re-enlist and to stay in and make that a career. So I knew what I had to do, but I knew when it was time to say, I'm done. And so probably 4 years after he made the ultimate sacrifice, well, actually it wasn't 4 years, but he died in 2004. I ended up retiring in 2012. Okay. So I just, how to play the game.
Yeah. Yeah. And Dr. Smith, tell us a little bit about your husband, he's retired, right? Is he retired?
He is. We met in the military. He was my stalker. And
okay. So he must have been in charge. He must have been in charge. Was he in charge? Did you work?
He was in another unit.
Okay.
And I used to drive past his unit every day, and so he had been watching me from afar. We met in the military, but no, he's an awesome guy. One of the best NCO, non-commissioned officer the Army has ever had. His soldiers to this day still reach out to him when they retire. They want him to come. When they get promoted, they want him to be there. So he just, he was more than just a soldier. He was a mentor, a father figure to many young soldiers of all races. It's a great NCO, a great leader. And I really admired that about him and his career. And yeah, he retired in 2008.
Excellent. We have about 5 minutes. So you guys, I mean, I'm looking at your bios and I'm like, these ladies are extraordinary. They do a lot. They're learned, degree, authors, all of that kind of stuff. So talk a little bit about what you're doing now, what you want people to know. How can they reach out to you, for some of the things that you're working on, for your businesses or for your ministries. How can people reach out? We'll start with you, Minister Beverly.
You can find me on Facebook under Beverly Peterkin Dennie. Right now, I am kind of like, I just started a new job, but it's still paralegal. So I'm trying to get my foot, I'm trying to get my foot, I guess you could say settled. But you can reach me on Facebook at Beverly Peterkin Dennie. And my email is beverlydennie@gmail.com. I do Just Believe seminars that you can call me on. I will start doing those again. And that's where I talk about the trifold belief: believe in yourself, believe in your purpose, and believe in your faith as well.
So how long have you been doing those?
Since 2005.
And is it for women only or?
No, sir. It's for everyone. Yes, it's for everyone, not just women, but men as well. And
why did you start? Why was that important for you to start and for you to continue to, provide that service, provide that ministry? Again,
I love to encourage people. And what I find, women, we're so much alike, but we're different, but we are so much alike in that we want the same things. We're mothers, we're daughters, sisters, aunts, whatever. But we all want the same thing. We want a good family. We want to provide for our family. We want to be that great helpmate. And we want a great future for our children, for those of us that have children. And I feel like a lot of times we get stuck, and it starts with the faith. When I told you, I talked about the trifold belief. Right. So the faith has to be your foundation. And then once you get into your faith and you start believing your faith, then it goes to yourself. You can believe in yourself. And as you learn more about yourself, learn more about your faith, then you can step into your purpose, what it is that God has really called you to do. And that's where you will find fulfillment. You would do it for free. Excellent.
Dr. Ceretta, you're also a councilwoman, Grovetown, Georgia. And you've only been, has it been a year?
No, it's only been about 9 months.
Wow, that seemed like it's been a year. I'm sure it's probably seemed like it's been much longer for you. So talk a little bit about what you're doing, how people can get involved with what you're doing. And I know you speak a lot. You have your book. Your book is out. Talk a little bit about your different endeavors.
Right. So as you said, I'm the newly elected city council member here in the city of Grovetown. I'm enjoying being a city council member, engaging people on a local political level. So always excited about that. You can follow me on Councilwoman Ceretta Smith on Facebook, Councilwoman Ceretta Smith. I'm a published author about to release my first children's book, a spinoff of my adult book, The Black Sheep. I just got my email tonight, going to be looking at the proofs tonight. So we're excited about that. And of course, Ceretta Smith Ministries. You can follow me on that page, Ceretta Smith Ministries. I'm gonna be speaking on Tuesday at the Gospel Convention. Is gonna be here in Georgia at the Marriott here in Augusta. So I'm a keynote speaker at that. So Ceretta is just about being effective in the community on a personal level. Using the platforms that God has so graciously blessed me with to motivate, inspire, and encourage people, and to let people know that all things are possible. I was just a little girl from Fayetteville, North Carolina, and if you just believe, like my friend said, if you just believe and have faith, God has great things that He will produce and manifest in your life. And so again, Ceretta Smith Ministries, Ceretta Councilwoman Ceretta Smith, and then my main Facebook page is Ceretta Anita Smith. And you can message me at any of those. My email address is theleadersheep, as in not the sheets, okay? The leader sheep, not sheets, okay? The leader sheep at yahoo.com. You can always reach out to me there. And again, you can connect with me on social media. And thank you so much, Michael, for having me. This has been great.
Thank you guys so much for joining us. I can't have two ministers on the show without closing it out. We'll give you an opportunity for about 30 seconds, 30 to 60 seconds to give a closing word, both of you, to veterans and or women who might be serving in the military. So whoever wants to start first.
I'll let you take the lead, Dr. Ceretta.
I just want to encourage women that are serving. First, I want to say thank you for serving and for being examples, for being role models and inspirations to young women and young girls who are watching you serve. You make us proud. Continue to hold your head up, stand tall, and hold your head up, stand tall, and embrace this time of your life. Get everything out of it that you can get, and then give everything back into it that you can give. God bless you, and we love you, and we thank you for your service to our country.
Thank you. Minister Beverly, you'll close us out with the final word.
And I just want to say to all women out there, as well as if there's any men listening, you are somebody. I just want you to remember that you are somebody. God did not create any nobodies. You are somebody that He wants to use.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Thank you, ladies, for another excellent show. It's been my honor to have you both on the show tonight. Two excellent women of the gospel, former veterans, former military personnel. Again, thank you so much for joining. And I couldn't think of a better way to have a better show to have on Veterans Day than the one I've had tonight. So I'm always looking for out of the box. So I can find some brothers who are veterans, but we can find some brothers. But I'm so glad that I had you two ladies on tonight. I'm so glad you were on the show. For those of you who are watching the show, thank you so much for tuning in to Conversation with Michael Carson. Again, share, click, like, subscribe, the bell, whatever platform you're listening to. Make sure that you let others know about the show. And let us know what you think about the show. We appreciate you tuning in each Thursday night here at 7 p.m. Eastern. And we aren't done yet. We're going to hop over, Dr. Ceretta and I, we're going to hop over to Instagram and going to share on there for about 10 minutes or so. So if you want to join us on Instagram, please feel free to do so, either at Ceretta Smith or either at Michael Carson Jr. Until next time, continue blessings. Thank you for tuning into Conversations with Michael. Thank you for tuning into Conversations with Michael Carson. Join us here each Thursday night at 7 p.m. Eastern Time for engaging and insightful conversations. We hope you enjoyed the show. If you have not already done so, don't forget to click the share button on Facebook and the subscribe button on YouTube. The conversation doesn't stop here. head over to Instagram and join us on Michael Carson Jr. starting shortly. See you soon, and until next time, continue blessings.